Defensiveness. So this again is a behavior that we might see where somebody is upset and they're, being a bit more aggressive with you. Now, again, you should never interact with somebody if you don't feel safe doing that. But in this situation, we might, again, if let's say we have to ask this person, we want to ask this person to leave the park bench or, leave the area because they're upsetting folks or they're being too loud or they're being too aggressive. We, again, want to be friendly or casual in our approach so that we're not escalating the situation. We want to bring that energy down. So we respond with short, clear, simple, instructions or simple options. Hey, you look like you're not having the best day. Unfortunately, you can't be here. Is there somewhere else you can go? And we kind of have a really clear way of saying, I empathize with what you're going through, but you can't be in this area. Is there somewhere else you can go? And again, we're kind of being an ally, we're being friendly, and that individual is hopefully able to move along, right? If there is a situation where you have somebody who's, being really loud, being really aggressive, they're yelling on the street or, they're yelling at another person on the street, if they're, damaging property or, they're pretending to get into a fight with somebody, in that situation, we don't want to engage in that situation. There's people who are trained to engage in that, and that's not, the general public. So we wouldn't engage in a situation where that was happening. We would call 911 if we felt that the police were needed, and then we would, again, keep our distance and not engage with that individual. The last sort of behavior that we typically see is where somebody is really high emotion, and then when we express sympathy for them, they come right down, right? So if you have somebody who, again, let's say they're really upset, maybe they're kind of crying, or they're sort of, they're not sitting still, they're sort of like calling out like they need help, or they're saying, oh, I'm just, everything's just so terrible. What do I do? What do I do? And you've got this person who's kind of sitting by themselves or walking down the street, and they're really, really upset, right? They're expressing a lot of really, a lot of emotion. Maybe they're crying, maybe they're, looking around kind of desperately for something. In that situation, we might be able to approach, again, from a distance. We want to approach from the side. We never want to approach head on. And we want to validate feelings while at the same time enforcing boundaries, right? So we don't want to, we're not their therapist. We don't want to get pulled into a role like that, but we can validate their feelings. So you might see this again, where somebody is really high emotion, they're really upset, and we call out, we're casual, we set the tone, and we say, hey, is everything okay? You look really upset. And that maybe allows somebody, again, they see you're being friendly, and so they kind of calm down, come to your level, and they say, they tell you, yeah, just had a horrible night. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to be yelling, or I didn't mean to be so aggressive. And they'll feel some of that regret or that shame, right? And we'll see that happen. And so we validate those feelings. I'm so sorry that happened to you. And we, reinforce boundaries by maybe saying, I'm going to help you sit down over here, and then I have to get back to work, right? So that we don't get pulled into a long conversation or something like that, but we're able to still make that a more positive interaction with that individual. So these are the resources that I mentioned for folks. So our detox in our shelter program, you can Google those numbers. Those will come up just if you Google. And typically, most people don't really ever have reason to call the shelter or call the detox program. But I would recommend for our outreach programs for you to keep those numbers. You can program those numbers right into your phone. So if you see a needle, a discarded needle on the sidewalk, you can call or text our needle response number, that 796-5334 number, and you can just, even text and just take a, do a pin drop, or just say, hey, found this needle on the corner of, Fifth and Center Street. Can you come clean up, and just take a picture of the area so that they know where to look. And then you don't have to wait. You don't have to wait for them to come. They will actually just come and take care of that, and they'll clean that up. So that's definitely an option, and that's a better option than calling police about needles, right? Because we'll be able to just come clean that up right away. Our dope team, so that's 24/7 mobile response team. I know that the response times can be kind of difficult, and if you're calling from Chinatown, there's not a great response time all the time for that program, but we do have a new East Village team that's starting this month, and so that will help kind of take some of the burden off of our main team. So we'll have a couple different vans on the road instead of having just one, and so we'll be able to respond more quickly, kind of starting now, so that team is up and running. And then our encampment team, if you do see, maybe you see a tent under the bridge, or you see somebody sleeping on the balcony, or there's lots of different kind of nooks and crannies in Chinatown, and so if somebody is setting up a camp or setting up a tent, you can contact our encampment team and just say, hey, there's an individual who's setting up a camp. Can you come and chat with them and maybe help them find a better space for them to stay? Okay.